from about May 24 till February 25, the theatrical was literally like a doomsday scenario. It's almost as if when I'm watching a lot of Hindi films, they're talking down at me. It feels like they're talking to, I don't know which audience, but I show it to my mom, I show it to a lot of people, and even they don't connect with it.
Any which ways with the streaming space, I think credits is a huge problem.
I feel like while there is so much choice, is there really a choice? Because we are watching actually one dumb thing between another dumb thing, between a third dumb thing, and they're competing for like dumbness.
Like Kahani, for example, I believe one of the producers said that mere to samajh mein nahi aaya, but maybe that's one reason it will work.
Most people, I feel, writers who become directors is because they feel they've been shortchanged. Their script was much better than what they saw.
I'm not unhappy with the big ticket films. The problem was we were taking those big checks and we are not delivering. We are not able to write a KGF or we are not able to write a Bahubali, and our big films are failing.
The streaming show is brought to you by MUBI, your one-stop shop for meaningful cinema from around the globe. You can try MUBI for free for 30 days by visiting mubi.com/thestreamingshow2025.
A massive welcome to all of you. It is so great to have all of you on the streaming show. I really wanted to have this conversation with a bunch of screenwriters I admire to really talk about where we are as an industry, maybe get some perspective, maybe even a little hope if there is any left. You know, the kind of narratives and buzzwords we've heard about the Hindi film industry in the last 2 years is sort of doom and gloom and rock bottom, and slump is the other one. And it just feels like on all fronts, you know, theatrical seems to be this big question mark, black hole. We don't know what's working there. Streaming, there's been this massive contraction, budgets have come down. Not only are the number of shows reduced, the number of platforms also reducing. And the only thing that most writers in town seem to have in common is that everyone seems to have a bunch of projects that have been either scrapped or, you know, shelved. So I wanted to talk to all of you, unless of course you're working on some form of project that involves men with beards stabbing each other in slow motion. So I wanted to ask all of you, is it as bad as everyone says? From a screenwriter's perspective, on the industry in terms of making a living, all of the above, is it really as bad as everyone is saying?
I would agree that I think it is as bad as they say. I have an upside to this, but I think, the upside to it is that it has actually given me a breathing space. I think the last few years before this slump have been so frantic and so hectic for the entire industry, especially the writers, that I don't think we had like a sense of what was really happening, and it was coming at us like too fast. And I think this has been a very like a blissful period of recalibration of sorts, where we have all been able to actually assess what exactly is our chop level, what exactly should we do. So it has actually helped me build perspective. And I wasn't sure if I was cut out for the anyway like the kind of mainstream sort of frenzy that I was getting absorbed in. So personally, I have looked at it in a very sort of positive way. It's done wonders for my speculative work. The number of hours that I've been able to devote to finally my own stories. So I like that things have kind of like crashed a bit, because I also hear like, you know, there is a sense of like actually like finally the real creative work taking lead. Like I feel that people who actually have had out of box ideas for a while, they have written some really maverick scripts, finally are finding their way out while other things are also going bad. So there is a strange kind of like sort of rebirth happening on the side of a lot of destruction is where I'm at.
I'll take the hope. Sounds hopeful. What about the rest of you? Is it as bad?
I think recalibration is the right word. I feel the business and technology, everything is getting recalibrated. I think we were not prepared to get instant videos on our screen so fast, and people have moved on so fast to that, and I think cinema is still adjusting to that. And I think people in general are again starting to go back to theatres and again developing that habit after COVID, post-COVID, developing that habit of watching long form content, because I think everybody is so used to watching 20-second stuff now that unless it really grips you, you don't really watch a film. So I think that side of humanity is something which we are ignoring, that there is this massive technological shift where everybody is a content creator now. And you can say the same thing 10 years ago about YouTube, but YouTube and Instagram are two completely different things.
Yeah.
Even when we were shooting YouTube videos, we needed a bit of a professional setup, but anybody in their living rooms can sit or their bedrooms can sit and create content right now. So that volume of content, I think people are still analyzing, and I think that segregation is still happening, and I think it will take a few years for the content to get filtered out, that what is for, like, we still know that, okay, this film is for OTT, this film is for theatre. So I think that segregation will happen over a period of time, and we'll get to know that these kind of stories are for cinema, these kind of stories are for OTT, and these kind of stories are for the web.
Again, that sounds very hopeful, because like, again, a lot of the conversations I'm having are people saying, I don't know how to pay my rent. I spoke to someone who works at a production house, and I literally said, I'm speaking to a group of writers, what would you want me to ask them? And she said, are they okay, and how are you getting by? You know, because that's the sense you get from other people. So this sounds like a more hopeful perspective.
I mean, I knew that I had like money worth for like a year and a half, and before I would wipe that money out very quickly, because I didn't know where my next check is going to come from, because nothing is going into production. Like 4 of my projects are like basically, I can't say shelved, but they are on a pause. And I was like, where is the next big fat check coming from? So I looked at it like, before things go into a stage where I'm not going to basically be able to sleep, or I'll have to compromise on my idealism, etc. I need to like rehaul or revise my lifestyle.
Ritesh, you are the veteran here, if I'm not wrong. I mean, if I'm not wrong, this year marks, is it 20 years of you in the industry?
Yeah, 25 will be 20 years.
And you have, I think, over 50 credits, if I'm not wrong. So, over the last 2 decades, how, if we talk theatrically specifically, how much has things changed? And is this the worst you've ever seen it?
It was pretty bad in 2008 also, 2008 October till about 2010 March or April. I mean, there were just 12 films on floors. I think 2 of them were mine, so it's not that I could complain then, but things had gotten pretty bad then. We had it really bad then. And this year from about, in 24, from about May 24 till February 25, the theatrical was literally like a doomsday scenario. Last 2.5 months have been great. I mean, we are back at certain levels where we're doing good. Another thing that happened, because theatrical last year at least, it didn't seem it has much of a future left. Then you suddenly realize that not only was the streaming scene saturated, because obviously if you can't make things here, you're going to them. And then one realized that do they even have the time, with the limited number of platforms that are there, that do they have time to even consider or read? And I think even what they were reading, judging from certain feedback that certain people got, I don't think they remembered what they read before this. They were reading so much. And there was also, they slashed budgets.
Yes.
So when your theatrical is not doing well and your streaming is saturated, plus there's a budget cut, and also they're choosing what used to be populist and almost television like appearing on streaming. So you were like, oh,
TV
we went
plus.
from this to this, then we have to switch back from that to this, but this doesn't exist at the levels theatrical used to exist in 2019, which was one of the great years that we had.
Yeah.
So the only positive thing then to look at was when we were talking that we always, one needs to survive. So psychologically you have to think of what good can come out of these doomsday scenarios. So one thing we realized that at least people who are in it for the wrong reasons will step out, because now there is neither the lure of money nor is, I mean, there was nothing in it left in it except for people wanting to do stuff because that's all they knew. And at that time, serious makers, their only question was, but we are always doomed. I mean, what do? We just tell the stories, and we tell them in the fashion that we know.
Yes.
But suddenly, I mean, streaming, I am not that too sure. I don't know so much about it, but I think there's a TV plus scenario emerging, which may, I mean, we may be able to negotiate and still, but theatrical, I feel that it's warming up. the last 2.5 months for varied content. I mean, there is the blockbuster film. I mean, the bearded men will still throw themselves off rooftops and stab each other mid-air for 2 years at least, but it's been pretty much like fashion for the mainstream industries. I mean, it's a question of this getting wider or narrower, so that has always happened. But I feel last 2.5 months have been good for streaming, for theatrical. Streaming, I really...
So we're going off 2.5 months worth of hopeful hope.
I think March, even the kind of films which are labelled that these are not theatrical have reasonably done well in the theatrical space also, but when they came on to OTT, that side also that demand existed. So somehow you get a feeling that films which are meant for OTT but did well in theatrical didn't do so well on OTT, but when they did marginally well in theatrical, then they went on to do good in OTT also. So
that's
I
because
think
the best marketing strategy for an OTT film is a theatrical release.
So I think in some films which are not typical mainstream content, I think some of them, like earlier we had a one-off in 12th Fail or whatever in the last 2.5 years. But this year I think largely films have done well since March, and people seem to have been getting back to theatres because you can see the footfalls rising, you can see the initial opening rising, the weekend getting up even for mid-sized films. It's not at 2019 level, but it's not bad.
It's not nothing. Khyati, you know that your show Raat Jawaan Hai is one of my favorite shows of the last few years. I had Sudeep Sharma on this podcast almost exactly a year ago, and we talked about this, that how I think that the finest Hindi language storytelling, as I keep saying, over the last few years has been on streaming shows specifically in terms of the storytelling, the sensibility, the variety and the kinds of narratives we're seeing, and your show is a great example of that. But when I spoke to him, he said, look, the party's over. You know, he said that in terms of platforms willing to take a punt on not the safe bets, not the franchises, whatever you want to call it. So is that the case?
You know, I don't know. I started writing in 2021. Like, post-pandemic is where my career started. So, in that sense, if I were to believe it, then this show would have never come out. The fact that it is out there, and like what everyone was saying, I also think it is pushing us to write like no one has written before. I, you know, find a voice, because otherwise when there is that generic trap of ye chal raha hai to aisa aur 3-4 cheezein kar do, and that whole thing. Right now there is an opportunity to push yourself to come to a voice that you know can't be replicated, and then take it forward. So while I know a lot of people have been complaining things have not been happening, it's not like if you have written something good that people are putting their hand up. There is at least the first meeting or the second meeting where people are willing to listen, and there is, I think we have to fight to make these stories. And like you rightly said, the reason to do it, if you have to make money, and वैसे भी writing तो नहीं कर रहे होते हैं ना, मतलब something else would have happened.
This is an addiction, not a...
Yeah, this is not going to be the place where we come to make money. This is so much more than that.
Yes.
So what we get out of it is also, you know, so much more than... I think it will happen. I think it is just a phase where every few years, like even in the theatres, like in the 80s they were making all these action films. Then came the 90s, they made the romantic. Right now everyone is looking for a romantic shift. So you can see that these patterns continue, and that you have to push yourself to say something new. Because if you say the same thing, then suna hai bol ke kaun sunega? Raat Jawaan Hai happened because nobody had heard something like this before. And I feel there's hope. I mean,
Again, I will absolutely take the hope. Biswa, you said something in an interview, I think in 2022, where you said that young people nowadays don't connect with Bollywood, and that was 3 years ago. And you know that very much seems to be the case. And I imagine it's either the same today or worse. And I feel like the kinds of things that has really worked with that audience is a lot of sort of the glory days of TVF, a lot of the shows that you worked on. So is that still the case theatrically, cinema-wise, or for the Hindi film industry? And how do you change that? How do you appeal to an audience? Because like 20 years from now, people are just going to be completely put off the industry?
See, I can only talk from my perspective. Like, for example, growing up, at least once a month, we used to go to the theatres. Once or at least once in 2 months. I gradually started noticing that around 2015-16, those were the few years where I realized, oh, I'm watching more Tamil films than more Hindi films, or more Malayalam films than more Hindi films, and that has gotten worse over the last few years.
For so many of us.
Yeah, and it's almost as if when I'm watching a lot of Hindi films, they're talking down at me. It feels like they're talking to, I don't know which audience, but I show it to my mom, I show it to a lot of people, and even they don't connect with it. There's this Tamil film that came out recently called Tourist Family. I showed it to my mom and she loved it. And she watched it in, I think, so when you dub it in Hindi, the Sri Lankan accent, that all of that goes away. But she still understood and she still enjoyed it. And I feel those experiences are very rare in Hindi films. Like I would say, there are 5 films maybe a year, 5 Hindi films a year that I really feel that, oh, I really enjoyed it. So I think that is like, when I was in college, I mean, all of these people like Anurag Kashyap, Vikramaditya Motwane, all of them, they just debuted. So it felt like such a new age where such new films were coming out every day, and you were like, oh, this is the kind of cinema that I want to see, and which is why I became a filmmaker eventually. But it kind of feels like everything is not meant for me, and when I say me, I think I'm not significantly dumber than the rest of the audience.
Yeah.
And it still feels that, I don't know which audience they're talking. It, like we were just discussing today, a lot of times I'm watching a Hindi film and I'm like, ye 2 line मैं काट देता शायद. But it doesn't happen when I'm watching an English film, a Hollywood film, even I would say even not a big Hollywood film, a small Hollywood film, even if I'm watching it, I don't feel like that it could be crisper. But a lot of Hindi films, I feel कि ये 2 line कट सकती थी. So I don't know, it feels lazy mostly in writing, I would say. Like, I don't know, that's one of the main reasons, and there's no new perspective, like she said. Like, at least in streaming, you got these new voices, at least up till now, and even once in a while you still get these new kind of shows.
Because all the voices you mentioned, the ones that a lot of us love, move to streaming, right?
Yeah,
That's
correct.
Vikram Motwane's Rajan DK,
Absolutely. So that has stopped happening. I mean, it still happens, but the frequency is very low right now.
But that's also the math, right? Like for example, a lot of people I know belong to middle class families. If they're going to get a Netflix subscription, they're going to get a Prime subscription, they're already paying an X amount of money every year. Now then, why will they go to theatre for a film that they can enjoy after paying? Because these are people who pay 2,000 rupees, they want, it matters to them, right? Yes. So they would want to watch some things that like the kind of films that they wouldn't necessarily think that need a movie theatre experience. So they would watch it on their devices, and therefore it's more the business shift or the consumption shift that we have to keep up with, as opposed to think that, you know, why are certain kinds of films doing it. Like Malayalam cinema, you brought it up. On an average, a Hindi film goer goes to the movies 2 to 3 times a year, versus this 11 to 12 times for a Malayalam film, which means they just have a bigger audience, which means they'll experiment more. Like, how will we afford it if there are not enough people going to the movie theatre? So it's just
what you said about the streaming prices and things. I keep saying this, the funniest thing ever is when you go to a movie theatre to watch a Hindi film, the first thing you see on screen when the film starts, after the certificate, is not the production house, it's not the logo, it's not the title of the film, it's streaming partner.
Yeah,
it's literally the theatre saying, are you sure you want to be here? You can just go home. A couple of weeks will come to you. But speaking of sort of Tamil, Telugu cinema, another thing that gets talked about a lot is this idea that Hindi mainstream cinema has lost touch with the single screen audience. That's what they call it, right? It's now everything is made for the multiplex. And that's why sort of mainstream cinema in the South, in the 4 industries, tends to be healthier, specifically Tamil, Telugu cinema more, and obviously Malayalam cinema as well. So would you guys agree with that? I mean, I was talking to one writer the other day who said that actually the OTT boom has actually maybe negatively impacted writers, because in terms of sensibility and structure, they're thinking differently, and the ability to write the big Hindi film for the big screen that everyone loves is maybe been diluted. So yeah, do you agree with that? Because I imagine the muscle for single screen writing versus multiplex versus streaming are all very different.
Yeah, I'll just respond to it like it's a first intuitive response. I don't think we can retrofit ourselves into these dabbas like from the outside. I think we naturally are who we are. Like, I don't think it works like that. I think the person who wrote and directed Sinners was just born to do that. He did not design it as a film that is now going to come and like basically revive the sinking Hollywood. They made a film they believed in, and Ryan Coogler has been writing for years. He's made like Fruitvale, he made the other famous Black Panther, and then he made this film. And so it was a consistent process, a style of his own, and he believed in it and he kept selling it and he stayed patient with it. I don't think this is, or Celine Song, who made Materialists after the film that she made. People who consistently do well do the same thing repeatedly because they have identified their voice. It does well in the seasons that it does well, and sometimes you take a beating. I don't think it works like that. I don't think you write to a format. You write for a format, yes, because you have to pay your rent. But then for that some of us have done TV writing in the past and all of that. I still am open to doing anything that will pay my bills. But I'm saying that is not how it works. We don't look at the format and say, oh, now we're gonna like do the verticals because now suddenly this is what. Maybe if I am like very good at telling a 1 minute story, I was always good at it. If it's something that's coming naturally to me, but I don't see how we work around it, like not as a writer.
But these are things that always come from the producers. Because, yeah, Ritesh, do you agree with that? Because a lot of people say that, you know, we've lost touch with that audience. That's the reason the Pushpas and KGFs of the world are what they are. You know, there's something that those films are appealing to that people are not getting from Hindi cinema.
See, I mean, my experience of it will be entirely different from Atika's purely because I've done a lot of taxi writing also. Everything didn't have to come from me. It usually, I mean, many a times it just came from the producer, and they have quote unquote certain ideas that this is a plex film, this is a single screen film, this is a mass film, this is a class film. Now, I mean, there is a difference in approach, but that approach is not necessarily going to work. You might think that I've written this for a plex audience and apparently it's a smash hit in the single theatres and nobody's turning up. It can happen. But I mean, see, Malayalam cinema also, because we specifically currently are watching a lot of Malayalam films because they seem to be doing the best stories currently. They have also gone through their phases. It depends largely on who's watching you. So in Hindi films, what happened with us is that we lost a significant section of our multiplex audience to different formats as well as different films. A lot of our younger lot just disappeared as an audience post-streaming. They went for anime, for K-dramas. We lost a significant chunk from the urban areas.
And you don't think that audience can come back?
I don't think they'll come back. I mean, for example, my daughter hasn't seen a Hindi film in 4 years, while she used to see it earlier. And but we gained a certain section from different centers, which has now started coming in. But the problem is we had already written stuff for the older multiplex audience. So that profile keeps on changing, the numbers throw you off. Yes, there is a kind of a tailored writing, as Biswa has pointed out very clearly, that those 2 extra lines sometimes are not out of laziness, it's out of underconfidence for that section of the audience, that it is slightly more over-explanatory.
It's a Brahmastra problem, it's the fear.
No, you think you're trying to do a good job, that अच्छा ये मासी फिल्म है, इसको थोड़ा और explanation देंगे. Or if he has threatened the villain already once in one metaphor and one simile, let's do 2 more. उनको और मजा आएगा. Like sometimes you have done 3 introductions for the hero, thinking that I mean the producer likes that one, you like this one, and the director likes that one. So the character's honesty is exemplified by 3 short scenes. You have done it one way, the director has picked up
Rule
another.
of 3.
Although you have written all 3.
Post-interval reintroduction.
Yeah, but sometimes दोनों हैं उसमें. There is as I said, that it may be successful, there is no guarantee for that. But there is a sort of a tailored, formatted writing for certain films. You lose that fear if the producer says or the director says that I am going to make it only in this much money. You write it the way you want to write. That's a different freedom, and I have done films like that and I am perfectly happy with that. I am not unhappy with the big check, the big ticket films. The problem was we were taking those big checks and we are not delivering. We are not able to write a KGF, or we are not able to write a Bahubali, and our big films are failing. So that was that kind of stuck terror between 21 and 24. That, I mean, we are not able to do it. Okay, there are just 6 or 8 Telugu or Tamil films which everybody keeps on talking about, but we cannot say, oh, even their films are flopping. That cannot be, you know, there cannot. We were not able to deliver on the big ticket film. But again, last 2.5 months, I think we are doing slightly better numbers. Not that with that we should say, अच्छा अब तो वापस आ गए, अब इनको फिर से भगाते हैं. That can't be your strategy. So even with mainstream films, I mean, we tend to adapt and change, and at the time when we were finding a bit more acceptability in multiplexes, we were trying to spoon feed lesser. Say like 2016 was a great year for us in mainstream cinema, where we were kind of able to do like Kuwait evacuation. But okay, we had to put a dance number in the beginning also, so we'll start with a karaoke situation, but we'll end up with belly dancing. That's a different thing. So that's a glass half, glass full kind of thing. But in 2020, from 21 to 24, that big mainstream film we were not able to do, and as somebody who writes other formats also which need a theatrical, it is kind of my job to ensure that there are certain numbers through the year. The big film also has to work for us to keep the plex open. But as I said, since mid-80s, since about 83, 84, from Mafia to VCR to DVD piracy to London market straw cash, every 7 or 8 years or 10 years, we have had slumps. We have a 3 or 4 year booms also every decade.
So it really is just literally this.
It's literally like that. I mean, we have been writing obituaries for commercial mainstream cinema since about the mid-80s. That अब तो VCR पे घर पे देख लेते हैं लोग, 10 रुपए में pirated. We have survived so far. I don't mean to say that we should get complacent, that this will always happen. Of course, you should try to learn from anyone who is finding an audience, and sometimes you should not even bother about that audience, that this is what I wanted out of my veins and here it is. Now unfortunately with that you have to be very, very respectful of somebody who's investing, that at least he doesn't lose money.
I'll just add to your point what you said about the big film, you know, losing that audience or whatever it is. I also think we have a director problem. I know I don't just want spectacle from cinema, but when I want the massive masala film, I know I'm getting excited about Atlee, Lokesh Kanagaraj or Prashant Neel. In Hindi cinema, I can't think of many directors who I'm getting truly excited about, that a big film that feels like an event.
Yeah, we had the multiplex cushion, so we kind of got rid of it and then got told that this is theirs. While as it's a easy revision on Salim Javed films plus technology,
same,
but most of the motives are the same. We just stopped it because we thought, okay, we have got a cushion, we moved 50% away. Had we known that we'll be asked that we can't do a Pushpa, I mean, Pushpa was a fantastic theatrical film, I mean, it was very good. But it's not something that we don't know how to do it, and art directors moved on to do very different kind of films. In Hindi, you will see the transition of directors who have made mainstream hits and then progressively gone on to make very, very personal films. They have chosen that. So, of course, if they are blowing somebody's crores, that's a different thing. But there are people who have made that transition. वो शौक हो गया पूरा. But Lokesh Kanagaraj will continue making the Lokesh Kanagaraj universe. He may not drift. See what Shankar did as a director in Tamil, he didn't do it as, he did much better, I feel, as a producer when he made all those small films which are wonderful stories. But he stuck to his big formatted cinema. That's also, there's no complaint to that. But in a year where somebody else is succeeding and Shankar is kind of failing, I mean, it can always happen to anyone. At one point, I mean, he was the earlier Lokesh Kanagaraj, but this year Shankar's films didn't work. So, I mean, it can happen.
Sorry, Khyati, you were saying something?
No, I was also saying what I feel also what with Bollywood what happens is, like you said, we kept changing our voice to appeal to different people, versus I feel in the South they kept sticking to that one thing they knew and kept making that better. So now, like after Kantara released, everyone was like, you have Kantara, anyone Kantara, we want make. So that happens a lot, right? Because they consistently stuck to a path. Versus we kept diversifying. That is our own journey as an industry, I feel. But
not when you want to pull in massive audiences.
We gave them better acceptance. See, Kannada always made 4 films like that almost every year. From ever since ever since Lucia and U-Turn and all that, since 2011-12 they have thrown 3-4 films like that every year, but we hadn't accepted them. This year, I mean last year, I think there was a sequel, a Telugu sequel, which did some 50 crores in Hindi. Part 1 Hindi में किसी ने देखा भी नहीं था, but it did well. So we gave them certain numbers for films like Hanuman, and which we didn't give ourselves.
Pushpa was doing the numbers during COVID, like when people were scared to step out of the house.
While it was in theatres as well as on
streaming.
Netflix.
Yeah.
I was watching the Telugu version on Netflix
I think
and
Amazon.
checking the number at night. That day also had done 1.5 crore in peak COVID. So I mean, see, we have also, I mean, we are kind of the bigger market. We have given them acceptance, and they have also given in certain days and times they remade Hindi films actually. I mean, a lot of Rajinikanth films are actually, the original films are written by Salim Javed here. You will see Salim Javed credits in Tamil. I mean, trends change, things change, but yeah, we need to adapt to our audience, that if there is a space and if somebody amongst us has the ability of a Lokesh Gangraj and Atlee, he is welcome to do it. And if some of us want to do very, very intimate films and do just 30 crores of business without anyone losing money, that's fine.
But I want to ask all of you the flip side. You know, I think we have a decent hold on what we don't know we can make today. You know, the really interesting, distinctive show, maybe people don't want to take a punt, producers, platforms, the mid-budget drama, theatrically, all these things that people are nervous about and we feel that we might be missing as an audience. But if I'm a writer and I just want to get something greenlit today, I don't care about creative satisfaction, I don't care about quality, I just want to be a working writer making a living, streaming-wise, theatrically, what should I be pitching? What is the flavor of the season where people will actually take me seriously?
Horror.
Horror?
MUBI, now horror also from what recent, or maybe it is because I've written a comment, or rom-com, please bring rom-com is...
So romance is back?
Yeah, romance is coming back, and is at least what my sense is from what has been. And there's always going to be thriller, but not in films, still in the streaming space and...
Crime drama.
Yeah. That I think, and of course there is microdrama.
Yeah, I've
And
also been
TV
actually
plus.
asked to bring like relationship dramas, like basically heavy
This is what
duty.
about-
There's something that can be upcast. So then big actors.
What do you mean by upcast?
Like you can cast like big actors,
Yeah,
mainstream
yeah.
actors can play
Okay.
like the hero and the
In real
heroine.
shots?
No, for theatricals.
Okay. So the rom-com space.
The rom-coms, the romantic dramas.
So young adult rom-coms are one space I think which will at least exist for the next few years. A lot of platforms creating free content will want to sanction such shows, so वो exist करेगा. Apart from that, like horror for films, I think really works. Horror comedy for films.
But you don't think that, because like if I'm pitching today, I'm looking for 2 years from
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So is that already saturated in terms of the pipeline of the next 2 years?
Not
do you-
yet. I
Okay.
think not yet. At least a few more months are left.
Okay.
Looks like that.
So I can still try and write a decafs 3 and maybe get by.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it. I think.
It keeps on changing because everybody realizes that you're going to come 1.5 years, 2 years down the line. So as of 3 days back, people have started turning down horror comedies. At least some of the producers I know that.
Recently it's 3 days. That is not done.
That's exactly
What's working next
three
week?
days. The film, I'm not sure that there is any trend. In fact, film is at its most difficult phase where you're not very sure. At the same time, it always opens up. This happened again after that crash in 2011-12. Since nothing was working, like Kahani for example, I believe one of the producers said that मेरे तो समझ में नहीं आया, but maybe that's one reason it will work. Because currently मेरे जो
This is the
समझ
producer we need.
one of the producers we had, he said मेरे तो समझ में नहीं आया, but देख लो. So that was a good phase where people were green lighting कि चलो ठीक है, I mean it's for a certain cost, let's do it, because they were not sure what will work. I think in streaming, the feedback I have is that crime dramas is their bread and butter, but there is certainly a demand for romance, young romance in
Young
that
adult romance
space.
crime drama.
But bilkul desperation mein, if it is just survival mode, I think it is that new vertical format which is coming from microdramas. That is, I mean, that's the quickest way that you just, if you want a job and you want to survive.
But let's just talk about microdramas. These are what 1 minute episode, cliffhanger every episode. They scare the crap out of me because I'm like, because it seems like they're about to explode in the next 1 year on all major platforms. And I'm like, and I've seen so many of them. It's not a format, it's a genre. It makes sort of
absolutely.
TV look like masterpiece. But does it scare anyone else? Because I'm like, if this is where the entire audience is going to go, you know, if I want to pitch any of your projects or your shows, like, are they going to be like, can we make this in, you know, 8 episodes of 1 minute each? Will they coexist? Is it going to be replacement? Because every major production house is on this.
But I'll tell you what happens, like I found Raat Jawaan Hai's full show on one Instagram channel. Full. Like it was a scene by
part
scene.
150.
Part in some 400 parts. The whole
292.
show exists on one channel. And I'm like, okay, so I feel like everything, any which ways, if you're going to consume it like this, is going to be broken down. Be it Pushpa, be it a small show. At some point, because honestly, I don't think the audience cares about how they're consuming it. We want headphones and like big correct color saturated screens, but audience doesn't care. It is they're watching it if you go in, like I travel by metro, everyone's watching something, talking, getting down, well, say watching there. So how much investment will they feel towards it? So we are making it for us only.
But what happens if tomorrow you pitch a rom-com and they say, can you make this 16 minutes, you know, not 8 episodes?
You give it to them, take a lump sum and say you break it down. So there will always be these challenges in one way or the other, but there is still space, because as you're getting afraid of these views and all, I can show you the box office of the last 2.5 months. There is a number there also, and there's a number for all kind of films. Suddenly,
So you hope it doesn't replace the stuff that we love.
see, microdrama also, if you look at abroad also, I mean, it was there since 2017. I mean, you could go to Apple to search an app and suddenly you will kind of, you know, land in midst of this microdrama. And then you had a choice whether you wanted to pay for it or not. People pay for a lot of strange things anyway.
So you think it can exist as a niche, not as a...
See, everybody talks about this or that, which hasn't happened in television or storytelling for a long time. It has always been an and thing. Now, वो and से पहले कौन बड़ा कौन छोटा वो vary होता रहेगा. Because in 2021, I remember the streamers were actually telling us कि क्या करो ये film छोड़ दो ये सब कुछ आ जाओ हमारे पास. Then once the big blockbusters came, suddenly they got worried, started paying big prices only, again withdrew. Again now I think last 2.5 months they must be worried that अब तो ये कह रहे हैं कि release ही नहीं करेंगे. So I mean it's always a lot of ands. Nothing has shut down. We thought TV good riddance बंद हो गया. नहीं, TV चल रहा है. It exists in certain spaces. So you have the phone, and an average person, I mean at least the person we want to target, because he has some amount of money. He doesn't have a lot of money, but he has some money. He has the phone and he has a choice there, and it's a multiple choice. Then he probably has a set-top box also.
And he's probably watching both at the same time.
And he has a lot of choice there also. And then between the first and the 7th, he can go to the nearby sometimes he is doing all 3 of them or 4 of them at the same time. So now you streamers are also being combined. The lesser known streamers are being combined through certain agencies which are offering you a multi bouquet. So that consumption is also there. So it will always be an and scenario.
Biswa, what about you? You guys working on microdramas?
Not really. I think just to add to what he said, it's a distinction between non-serious viewing and serious viewing. So when I'm just traveling, if it'll take me 15 minutes to reach my home, I'll just watch some reels or watch a YouTube video. But when today I'm free, tonight I'm free, I need to watch a film, then at home probably either I'll go to the multiplex or I'll select what options do I have. So I think the audience is like that. The audience that is watching, so like even if you watch 1,000 reels, you'll not even remember 2 of them. So I personally feel reel shot is actually a task. Like if I have to swipe every 1 minute, you better make a film out of it. मैं पूरा देख लूँगा.
But that is what it is. They shoot 80 minutes and cut it up into...
But I feel, I don't know, if it is meant for an audience that doesn't have that sort of retention, you are expecting them to watch 80 parts one after the other. That's a huge task.
That's too much to ask.
Yeah, so like the micro dramas that I could understand, like for example the comic strips that we used to read, say Garfield guy comic strips. So if it's recurring characters and just different situations, I understand that. But one continuous story which spans over an hour and I have to keep swiping,
Yes.
I don't know if I can do that.
It's so many cliffhangers, you're constantly hanging basically.
So it's just cliffhangers basically.
pretty much.
You get out of one cliffhanger and then something happens. So yeah, I don't know.
I want
if
to respond to this not so much as like a business or business perspective or as an audience perspective. I mean, just as a creator, I actually have no problem in adapting to different forms. Forms is not a problem, like you said, that we have been adapting to different forms and telling, and so that's fine. I sometimes do sort of like worry over where is content going with.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, that sort of like kind of like reinforces my point. Where is content actually going with, you know, with the multiplication of forms? I feel like while there is so much choice, is there really a choice? Because we are watching actually one dumb thing between another dumb thing, between a third dumb thing, and they're competing for like dumbness. The problem is that. The problem is not like, give me as many forms as you want. Like, it's okay, maybe I will not be able to do the microdramas well because I'm not built for it. But I'm not saying that it shouldn't be there. I'm just, is there space for like then my kind of voice is something I'm looking at, because I personally feel that I have done this now for 15 years and actually there was no hope in hell for someone like me, because I've had a very, very noticeable slant to my writing. I'm a feminist writer. I didn't think I would have a career. I would be sitting amongst like this bunch of people. For me, this whole change is only worrisome from the perspective of, is there space for us? For people like me, like I mean, of course, I'm in a position where I will be able to mount a film and get crowdfunding and or I might get co-funding from like multiple foreign producers, which is currently where people like me are going into. But I want to tell like very desi tales, because I want to make a difference with like women who actually watch dramas on free dramas on, you know, YouTube in the train and metro and buses. I want to be able to make a difference to their lives. Like, it is not for people in France alone. So that's something that worries me. It's not the change of form. It's like now there's one more excuse to actually just like cut the content
or just
crap
limit
out.
that by.
Like, it's like if you have smart stuff, just take it away, because we don't have time for nuance. And now it's even more easy to like snub some certain voices. This is something that worries me. I am not so worried about me individually. I'm just worried that
For the space.
Like, theek hai, we'll adapt to forms, but what about voice?
But just speaking of snubbing voices, Atika, you wrote a piece for the Indian Express at the end of last year, if I'm not wrong. I'll just quote something you said, what you wrote. You said, "I've successfully avoided sticky conversations around fair credits in favor of my continued ability to pay steep Mumbai rent. A monthly rent means you want to be repeatedly employed and thus repeatedly exploited." It's very well said, though very tragic. So let's talk about the big C word of credits. I'm curious to get all your perspective on, as a writer, where we are today. Are things really better? Because you still see so many very shaky practices. I get press releases all the time of the latest shows. Writers are almost never mentioned. You have times like, or it's something weird buried in the end credits when talking about streaming specifically. Recently there was Mrs. where somebody at Geo took the spectacularly insecure decision of removing the writer's credit on the end slate, which is the one place that your name is there. So are these all just bad examples? But overall, if I'm a writer, am I in a good place in terms of getting credit? Has it got better, or is it still a massive uphill battle?
I actually want other writers to respond to my quote.
No, I do feel credits is any which ways with the streaming space, I think credits is a huge problem, because who waits for the end credits? Any which way the skip button comes in. Nobody has ever seen credits. Credits are for only the people making it to watch, even in movies. But at least the writer credit, I feel like there should be a practice where all the main credits should be before the show, in the whatever the title track, and that should not, at least for the first 2 episodes, not be skippable. These little things I feel will go a long way, because we are just encouraging impatience. We are saying with 1 minute content, with no need to know anything else, just watch the show, just stick to us for the first 3 minutes and then we'll give you a treat or a chocolate or whatever. So we are just you're just encouraging impatience. But I feel there is and honestly, I don't think writers, unless very big, can put it in their contracts and make it happen. But so it will have to start there for everyone else to benefit from, because only if somebody's contract says that you can't skip my title in the beginning is where later this will become a norm.
Which means that you're a troublesome writer and I won't give you any more.
Yeah. Most definitely that.
Nandini Gupta, who's one of the writers on Masaba, told me on this podcast 2 years ago that for that show they had to fight. I didn't know this was a battle for the writer's name to come before the skip, intro button, or whatever it is, like all the other key credits. And I was like, I didn't even think that that's a battle also. But no, but follow me. Is it any easier today? Are we still fighting the exact same battles where if you're the writer, you're a second-class citizen?
See, the skip button thing is not going to be resolved anytime soon. It's going to continue because the algorithms tell us that if there are credits, people skip. So that is not going to change. In fact, it's going to be, maybe you'll just get the title slate. Like a lot of new Netflix shows just have the title slate and you get no credits. And again, that's also because that's the viewer behavior.
Yeah.
That's how, if I'm watching 2-3 episodes after watching the opening credit once, I'll never see it again. So that's not going to change. However, from when I started maybe 12-13 years back, I think the credit situation has gotten better because the writers are more aware now.
Okay.
They refuse to be exploited.
Yeah.
It's contractually at the very beginning, everything is there. So at least in my circle, I haven't heard a lot of exploitation happening very recently.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened.
That's hopeful.
Yeah.
So it's overall, you feel like there is a...
I feel it's getting better, and I think it shouldn't be a problem a few years down the line. I mean, apart from a few cases here and there.
I think even if they give money to writers on time is a good starting point.
Now you're asking for too much.
Credit we'll get,
Not
give time.
just on time. If they give all of it.
All of it, and not save it for third dub.
No, but explain this, because I found this fascinating when I first found out how writers get paid, because you're not, at least with theatrical films, you're not getting paid to write. You're getting paid predominantly if the film gets made, right? Which has nothing to do with your control. So you get sort of certain installments. Whereas with shows, you actually are getting paid to at least submit episodes, if I'm not wrong. So for a writer, at least there is some that is slightly more.
Yes, it's more lucrative for sure.
Little more, for sure. But like, that's what I'm saying, with films and the way a lot of contracts are designed, you get your last payment at a dubbing, which has got nothing to do with
You've submitted the script, you're done.
I mean, if actor doesn't turn up on dubbing, why should my payment be stalled? So there are these things, because I feel also it doesn't have, all contracts look different, right? There is no standardization of any kind. There is not even, I mean, SW exists, and therefore there is some sense to, you can call them and ask them questions. I have friends who do that very frantically and they get the answers, but otherwise there is very little
accountability.
Yeah, how do you know what is happening in her contract or my contract or whatever? So it's, everyone is doing their own thing, versus I feel with a lot of actors and stuff, because the agencies have streamlined that, they have decently standard contracts compared to writers.
Hopeful.
Yeah.
Ritesh, would you agree? Money, credits wise, are we in a better position? Has it got better?
It's the same like their box office fortunes. Generally, there's a correlation between when they're treating writers better, they eventually put on a better year. The good years have seen a lot of talk about the writers in terms of box office also. So it's really a double-edged sword. I mean, it depends on the people you are working with. I mean, generally I feel that people who are very secure, whose work is very good, they're likely to be, your title is going to be, your credit is...
Percentage of how many people of those exist? Like, what's the ratio?
The good ones, almost all good ones are good with it. I mean, not 100% there. But if you see, at least in the mainstream space, if you see in terms of quality or box office, if you see the better production houses, the people who are doing better, they're usually better in their treatment of writers, both in terms of credit and money. Like some box office writers who have seen a lot of good box office, never chose to work with other people. They knew that this is as good as it gets. But I mean, see, streaming now, we all know what's happening for a medium which claims that it's content or writing driven, but they're not able to find a way how to put it. I mean, people skip, but people don't skip hoardings. Hoarding pe to dal do.
But some shows have got the showrunners and writers' name on the hoardings, which is a relief every time I see it, because I think all of Sudeep Sharma's shows did display all the writers who worked on the show.
Yeah.
I did dialogues for Ulajh and I was on the hoardings last year. So I mean, there is of course that change where I see writers getting recognition on hoardings, which is
exceptions that give you hope.
Yes. I mean, but maybe the showrunners asked for it.
So it's not the platform. Rarely interferes in these regards. I think it's the showrunner who decides or the production
so
house
you
that decides.
then you have the answers already. It actually can come from top to bottom, where you set on a certain standard of how we are going to credit our collaborators.
Generally, over 20 years or 25 years, whatever I've experienced, I mean, there is a clear decision on the part of a lot of people who decide a lot of things in the industry. They don't want to produce star writers because that will be one more extra bracket to pay. So there will be a lot of praise behind the closed doors.
Yes.
They will deliberately put your name on projects that you have not even said yes to, because there is a lot of value to the writer's name behind closed doors. But openly they will never praise you, they will never give you enough credit because they don't want to create one more category.
It's also something I speak about in that article, which is that basically when the film actually comes out, you never get talked about. It's only the actor that is celebrated, and a lot of frivolous trivia around the film that, you know, it feels like it's more important to talk about that instead of like 3 years that went in where the director and the writer wrote a film together and like poured in their life into the film.
No, more important than that is what pranks did you play on set. Actually, that is the
Yes.
key.
Generally in front of the media, I've seen the very secure, very talented directors who know their job very well have never felt threatened. In fact, their sentence starter is usually their writer or what happened. Usually the insecure ones, I mean, they'll muscle into credit, would not have written a line in the whole film, and they are not even embarrassed about that. So it's always, it's very people centric. This is how it has always
Again, do you want to
been.
give us the ratio of secure to insecure? Like what percentage should I expect?
Among the successful lot, I mean, 30% is a good ratio. If you know 3 such directors, it should be, you should be given an immediate lifetime achievement award. But I'll tell you like strange examples from quarters, like even as early as 2007, I was credited on the hoarding as a dialogue writer because it was that production houses, this thing, that dialogue drives our kind of cinema. So we will credit the dialogue writer. And
So it's
I
arbitrary.
think Biswa said it earlier, no, just as how there is a trend of skipping the credits in terms of interviews and media and all that, the audience also has not expressed a great interest in writers. So because they are not, there is no market to market them. I remember Filmfare did a long article with me in 2016. This was the year of Pink and Airlift. I never asked them, but that interview was never published. But I kind of wasn't upset at all.
They reached out to you.
They reached out to, I spent an hour talking to them about my work. It never got featured. I wasn't really upset.
Let's wait and see if this gets uploaded or not.
Yeah, I mean,
No, this is just for the vibe. The cameras are off.
so even the audience has not expressed a great deal of interest. Of course, people complain, no, if you give back to back 10 hits, then they'll expect 10 hits matlab tapasya hai. None of them have given 10 hits in a row. They get talked about. तो खाली writer को सलीम जावेद के 11 देनी है, बाकी you don't even have to give 1 hit. So that is a bit unfair, but I feel the general tendency is not to create any star writers. That because then you'll have to pay them more. You'll have to book them business and things like that. It will just add
To
to
give
the
someone
crowd.
that due is a hassle.
See, filmmaking, I mean, even streaming, it is a team job. I mean, writers should not fool themselves that it's they alone.
Yes.
It's not they alone.
But you just want to be invited in
But,
the room.
but first one in and first one out is a bit of a trouble.
Right.
That अब तुमसे कोई काम नहीं लगे हिंदी फिल्म अब तुम मुझे क्या दे सकते हो
Atika, you mentioned showrunners. So the other big trend with the series world is you know, Khyati, on this one, you're sort of one of the success stories, because in the US, when you make shows, the showrunner is typically a writer, right? The writer is the captain of the ship. You know, you have various directors who are then executing that. That model has not really been replicated here as much as we'd hope. There are very few exceptions. There's you, where you were the writer of the show, and also you were, you know, captain of that ship. Ishani Banerjee on School of Life. Sudeep Sharma is one of the very few true blue showrunners we have. You know, Vikram Motwane as well. You know, Satyanshu Singh, he co-created Black Warrant with. So, but again, you can count these on your fingertips. So why is that the case? I know you still get a sense that the director is still getting a lot of the credit, or sort of either taking ownership of the project or whatever that is. Why is that still such a uphill battle?
But honestly, I feel, and to add to what they were also saying, the producer is the main person who can make it happen for you or not. In my case, I would have been okay with writing credit because it was my first. It was a producer who made sure I got the creator credit because he's like, it is your world. Don't like you. It was given to me before I asked. And that is the Vikia producer was the person who made it happen. And I know he fights this battle for many people, where he knows who this belongs to in the right, like these characters have come from somebody's womb. This is the person he wants on set to make sure we don't go here or there. And of course, the director and writer and creator, everyone works together to build anything worthwhile. But like you said, I feel as much as we need good streamers and we need very good producers, because those are the people who make things happen. Those are the people who fight for credits. Those are the people who can fight these battles for us. I don't think anybody else can do it for you. If I tomorrow stand up as a lone writer, like you said, I can't sue people, I can't afford legal fees. How will I do it? Like to talk to any production house or like any big daddy out there. So it is about finding these right kind of producers who look out for writers and who look out for people with a voice. Like I feel the protection comes from them more than anybody
and
else.
it's entirely in their interest.
Yeah.
I mean, predominantly it used to be or still is a producer-writer relationship in a lot of industries. So if they nurture them, they're going to make a lot of money, and that's why they do it. I mean, they have to be smart enough to do that. Most of them are kill the golden goose style. So,
but it's not even just a credit thing, as you mentioned. It's also, you are on set, you are shaping your baby, you're working with the directors. Sometimes there's one director, sometimes there's multiple. So, yeah, why is it just the reluctance to give writers sort of?
No, I think it's also because if I'm going to be on one project for 2 years or 3 years, it needs to make economic sense. And somebody has to let you do that. Somebody has to give you that much money. Somebody has to give you that much independence for you to afford this. And internationally it happens because they do pay like that. Maybe for a Raat Jawaan Hai, I was cushioned enough to be on set all the time without feeling like, oh my God, if I'm here for 6 months of shoot, then who's going to pay the bills? So essentially, like you said, the producer can make it happen for you. They can make sure the quality and therefore the power can rest with the writer creator. But honestly, that is entirely in the hands, because as writers, I feel mostly there is a natural underdog quality, right? Like everyone, like, thank you for looking at us and calling us for these things.
I'm glad to be invited.
Yeah, just like you said, invited to the seat on the table. Till a few years back, writing was a technical award. Like everything else was a...
It still is.
Oh yeah, oh good. Didn't know that. So it can't be a technical award, right? Like it shouldn't be. There is so much more happening there.
It is the thing.
It's a mother's role. You can't take it away. So
also depends on the nature of the show, that if it requires a director showrunner and he's doing his job, then he's welcome to do it. Sometimes you need a writer showrunner. There are 4 directors, one person has been on it for 2.
Are they willing to accept the idea of writer showrunners? There seems to be a reluctance.
See, there is no date. The problem is, I mean, it's so arbitrary. As I said, it depends. Like she got a producer like that who decided because she is putting it. There are the usual producers also who will end up saying, I told her.
Yeah.
So that category also exists.
But the beauty of what happened, her situation, is that there's something so original and autobiographical in some sense, if I may say so, that came out of her, that if they wouldn't, actually it is a smart producer who made you the showrunner, because the way you can guide it and navigate it, no one else can, because it's a very experiential journey. So this is not the show, it's not a crime thriller where you can like staff the writers and you can bring anyone who knows the genre, etc. This is something that needs your hand holding through it all. So I would say this producer actually knew their job really well.
Exactly. So she was talking about it in terms of ethics, but it makes a lot of sense as a producers. As Mr. Moneybags, that is what, that's the kind of collaboration I seek and I want to nurture, because I found somebody who has a story and a voice. It's a big deal.
Yes, so empowering the original voice and as a creator too. It's like actually helping their own content.
Absolutely. It makes him, that's what makes great producers.
you think that show running is something that will happen more for writers?
Yeah, I think SW is already working on it. I think we are soon going to have that if somebody writes a certain number of episodes, all of that, those laws, from whatever little I know, I think that is going to come out very soon. I think in our industry, we love the term showrunner a lot because it sounds very catchy.
Powerful
Everybody
ego.
wants
Sounds
to be
important.
a showrunner. I am a showrunner. So this idea came from me, so I am a showrunner. They don't understand that. See, in the West, the concept came because they needed one person to have a vision across seasons. Like you will spend 8-10 years of your life. If the show becomes successful, you will spend, I don't know, a decade creating the same show. Yeah. And here, I think it's nobody realizes the responsibility. So I used to say the same thing about writers, that everybody wants to become a writer, but nobody wants to write. So everybody wants to be credited. अरे मैंने वो joke बोला था ना, मैंने suggest किया था, तुमने वो डाला, so that came from me. So I should
I'm
also
dialogue
be
writer.
मेरे को तीसरे में डाल दो, but I deserve credit. So nobody really understands what it takes to do the actual groundwork, especially for a show. It's a huge commitment. If you're doing 2-3 seasons, it's like what 5-6 years of your life on that show. So I think slowly we're getting there.
My favorite thing used to be in the first 2-3 years of streaming shows here, it used to say created by XYZ production house. Yeah. And I was like, no, it was created by a few people, so don't be that insecure. Ritesh, on the theatrical side of this conversation, something I remember Dibakar Banerjee said in Angry Young Men, the docu-series about Salim Javed, they said that the best thing a writer can do to get credit, get what they deserve, is just be a director. You know, so many people do it because you don't have any choice. That's the only way you're going to get that. Considering you've just directed your first film, is that something you agree with? Do you advise writers that, look, the only real way to sustain, whether it's financially, whether it's get your due, is just become a director?
I'll leave out things because of my NDA.
You don't have to talk about the film, but we know you're a director.
I'm saying that I may or may not have directed a film, but do
you want me to show you the 9 articles that confirm you have?
But let me just respond to the essential argument. Let me react to what Dibakar said.
Yeah.
Now, it's true for a lot of people that in case they want a voice or they don't like the way their stuff was directed, it's great. It is a promotion of sorts and you can be in charge of your material. Sometimes you may be a better writer. You may not have the ability to be a good director because direction involves a lot of things apart from creativity. Secondly, you may not want to do it. I mean, like Javed Saab said, that I am a lazy person. I don't. I started as an assistant director, never directed. Just wrote and was happy writing poems, lyrics, screenplays. He was fine with it. Similarly, a lot of us are fine with it. If there are people with an innate ability to direct, they can enhance the material. They were welcome to direct. Now we have to decide what space are we seeking at what point of time. At one point of time, I did want that Filmfare interview to be published, not just for me, for other writers. By the time it happened and didn't happen, I didn't care. So I did want to win certain awards at a certain point of time. Eventually, when I won them, I didn't turn up, and I made excuses that I don't even live in Mumbai. Are you sure you want to waste an invite? They were willing to send it. And the trophy managed to make its way to my house, but I didn't want it anymore. I didn't want to go there anymore. At one point of time in my life, I really wanted credit. That so and so stole my credit, so on and so muscled into it. But there were some people generously who gave it away. Like one director, I asked him, "So you aren't sharing the writing credit?" Because I was surprised. He said, "Direction se bada kya credit hota hai jo main share karu?"
He's one of the 3 secure ones.
Yeah, I mean, one of the number 1 people on that list. And now I may not want it. I may not even want to be credited. Even something which I wrote for myself or something I wrote purely for an audience, quote unquote, massy formatted cinema. Sometimes I may have wanted to be famous. I don't want to be famous anymore. In fact, if I were to direct, I am dreading the fact that, oh my God, I have to go for that trailer launch. Then I'll have to explain why I decided to make that film. Now I know why I decided to make that film, and it's very apparent from the film. But
no, you have to talk about pranks on set. You have to talk about. Do you know how many Filmfare interviews you now have to give as a director?
No, I mean,
hypothetically,
yeah,
if you were a director.
So even as a writer, I may not want it now. But it doesn't mean that other people who want it should be denied it. They might be younger, they might be in their mid-20s right now, they might be wanting the same things that I wanted in my early 20s, and it should be given.
Or one will have to have multiple skills along the way,
Right.
which is, I think, Biswapati Sarkar is
Yeah.
like best example of that. You
Producer,
become
right,
producer, or you like form a tribe, and then you own your content, work around it. So that is another way of like, obviously.
But again,
you need
it
skills.
was not planned. It was like he said, he just turned up ki अरे मजा आता है लिखने में, and then you realize, oh अच्छा, it will not get made this way. Then you meet a few people, you make something.
I do get upset about credits, not from my point of view, because I just feel it sets a bad precedent. Plus, it really bothers me in terms of a creator who credits himself with something that has not created. If suppose being cruel to an animal or a child is at the worst end of a certain spectrum for me, for somebody as a human being, a creator who puts his name on something that he has not created, story by so and so, screenplay by so and so, dialogue by so and so, written and directed by so and so. How can you live with it? Would I want to meet you next? Like, there are people I have not been able to answer their messages from say 6 or 7 months, not because I want something, but I am wondering about that. What kind of a person would want to be, known as a co-writer without having written probably more than a sentence?
Most of them.
For example, would I want to share my cinematography credit with, say, Obik Mukhopadhyay? Because I am the primary visualizer, no? I wrote that.
It's my world.
It's a sunny day.
I think it just feels like the purest creative job. That's it. I think everybody just wants
Then do it.
that.
The answer sort of what you're asking, what is the pleasure, I think lies in exactly something you said a little earlier in the conversation, which is about like you don't want to make star writers. It's not about like, actually I don't know how much it is about stealing. It is about not giving power or granting power to someone who's lower in hierarchy.
To
So
maintain that.
it's about controlling the power, so that next time you will not, this writer, if this film becomes really a big hit, they'll not be able to come and charge me or shoot their mouth off at like, oh, now I'm going to charge like 35 lakhs because last time I got like 3.5 lakhs and then it made you a star. So that is what they are basically debating. So I think it is more about like a feudal perspective of like keeping control, keeping your staff in like in their place. That is how I think it has
It's also perception PR that I was the creative brain behind
Yes.
it, so that my next project gets funded. But
I'm the one
actually, I've
person
done
army.
nothing. Yeah.
We will have to, before we conclude, I will ask one last question to all of you. I could literally do this for hours, but unfortunately we can't. If there's one thing you guys could change about the industry in terms of how it functions today, it could be from a screenwriter's perspective, it can be anything else, what would it be? Unfortunately, it's only one thing. You can't say 9.
I think back end where anybody who's well to do, they should come together and make, we should drastically reduce our costs and the way we make films, where we stay while making those films, because that way you'll get to do a lot of what you want to do, and then if it is successful, for the well to do, I'm saying. For somebody who's just breaking in, I mean, they should be paid well and they should be flown business class, and that can be done. But for people who now have a decent lifestyle but are still in love with films, I think they should all get together, but somehow with money, I don't know what it is that 2 seems better than 1, even when it's 100 crores and 200 crores.
Or even when the industry is failing, you suck out as much as you can.
Yeah, and what do you do with it? I mean, I think people who are much poorer do a better job of living a very interesting life. I mean, what is the difference between 900 crores and 950 crores?
I think it's very difficult to be depressed in Bali. I think that's the sense I get. That,
Yeah, but no, I have seen depressed people in Bali or in Pali Hill. It has no correlation unless they do it. I mean, the top paid writers, the top paid director. I have done films for 75,000 also, because I thought the film should be made, and then I have been given 5 lakhs in cash also for films like that, or a director has gone ahead and bought a second-hand BMW Sports. Things should be done. Things should sometimes be Like I have a lot of comfort with Rising Sun Films. I mean, if they make different cinema, that is because they live different lives. They are willing to stay in a motel along with the rest of the crew, don't have to be driven in fancy cars. That's why they get to make films like that.
This is Shujit and Ronnie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Khyati, what about you? One thing you change?
I feel like sometimes I meet nice people, but they, the moment they get into the umbrella of a corporate, they behave not very nicely. So, so I feel that one thing, that if you are a decent human being, then fight the right battles.
Once you're in the position of
once
power.
you're in the position of power, fight the right battles. And that's the only thing which I see not happening very often. Like, I'm sure combined there would at least be 20 scripts that belong to us that are not with us right now. And I feel those are the kind of things which a production house can give up, but they just choose not to for whatever reason.
The same person, yeah.
So yeah, so they choose not to, and I feel if just like, and I know a lot of them are nice people, so if they would just be nice when they are in that position of power as well.
I have managed 2 buybacks in my entire career.
Oh my God.
Just 2 buybacks.
Can't be easy.
It's very difficult. They won't make it and they won't let it go.
Yeah.
And if they find somebody is trying to make it, they'll stop.
They want their pound of flesh. Atika, what about you? One thing you change?
I think I would want to bypass the middleman somewhere where with my access and opportunity with the platforms directly. I know that even now, for example, I keep hearing that you need to come with the producer, you need to come in with the director, you need to come in with the showrunner. Somewhere I feel that the fact that I should be directly be able to take my stuff to a platform and get it commissioned, and then the other sort of collaborators can come into the picture with the power of then having the stamp of a platform in place. I think that is something, and maybe I know it's for some writers it may have, that wall has already collapsed, maybe it hasn't for me. And I think that is something I wish for myself, for more writers, so that we are actually granted power from where it really matters.
So are you saying the material should matter more than the package?
Yes, so for example, if I have taken something to the platform directly, if I have a script or like an idea or a Bible already, which is not now written in collaboration with the director already attached to it or a producer attached to it, then I should be able to keel my business on my own ability, creative ability. And then I'm not saying that I'm going to interfere with every decision that the platform takes. We can discuss who the director could be, we can discuss depending on, but I just don't want to depend on the direct. I want to like bypass the middleman. I feel that's something that keeps diluting the power, the voice, the scale, and also like the love for it. Like, you know, it just like becomes like it becomes so labored. I want to represent my project, but maybe I'm saying this because maybe I'm not that writer who wants to direct yet. I feel very satisfied with what I do. I feel there's so much to what I do,
and that should be enough.
It is a very wholesome line of work and career. It is absolutely like.
But strangely, Atika, for some writers who want a voice like that, a successful middleman has been able to provide that voice.
That is exactly. So maybe because that is what is the problem is that we have access to this middleman. I'm like a little tired of just doing that kind of hustle. I don't want to hustle. I want to go like anti-hustle for a while. I want to be just like, ye mera maal hai, dekh lo, theek lage to le lo.
No, but I feel a lot of it is also to find that one, like maybe you found it with Rising Suns and I found it with Sumit in that sense, where you find that director who actually, most people I feel writers who become directors is because they feel they've been shortchanged. Their script was much better than what they saw. If you don't get that feeling, if you finally find a creative collaboration that makes you feel like this has been elevated to a next level by a director, is where you find that partnership. And I feel if you find that, you must not let go of it, because
we went to
that
the
is the
previous
most
question. Now, Biswa was
It's the last word to you.
what-
One thing you
what-
change about the industry.
I think if we can just learn to give better feedback. I mean, in general, I feel.
Now you have to tell us the dumbest feedback you've ever got.
No, I feel that when people read your scripts, or even when they watch and edit, it's very incoherent. The feedback that, like, starting from.
You have to give us examples. I'm sorry, I'm going to hold you to that. The weirdest, strangest feedback you've ever got.
No, I'll tell you. Strangest feedback. Oh, strangest feedback. तो
You thought,
इसकी
like, what is this person smoking?
थोड़ा edgy कर दो इसको. So what do I do with that? So it's like if you can just learn the basics of screenwriting or just filmmaking in general and understand why this is working, why this is. It can be here. I found this scene to be slow. Can we pace it up? I understand that. But if it's just adjectives that are thrown at you, you can't do anything. So I feel, and this happens across the board, I feel, from the studios to, I mean, there are some people who give excellent feedback. And you just speak to them within a relation, they'll tell you 4 points, ye kar do, and you're like, oh, okay. I never thought of that, that's great. But if we can have more such people, I think it will save us all a lot of time. So because the bad stuff will be filtered out. I meet a lot of young writers and I feel that they don't have a circle. A lot of time it feels like I am the first guy ever reading the script. So it feels very bad that how do I improve it? Either I have to spend days on this script. A lot of times I just have to pass on it. A lot of times if this material is good, then I'll call him and then we'll sit for a few hours a day and then we'll sort it out. But otherwise I feel that it's so random that a lot of people who are in this business for a long time, they can't express what is working and what is not working.
Because they don't know.
Because they don't, and I think if you've spent like, I don't know, at least 5-10 years in an industry, you can just articulate your thoughts better. Even if it's not working for you, you can give them a clear reason that this is what I felt. Like this is derivative or I felt this was that. Just explain yourself better, and I think that will improve a lot of things. I feel that.
Everyone thought of one feedback.
Unfortunately, we will have to wrap it there. But thank you, all of you. This has been really, really wonderful, and it has given me some hope. And I really hope for better stories, better exceptions, producers with less ego, more security, and most importantly, I really hope this Filmfare interview comes out. My entire life is dependent on this 1-hour Filmfare interview.
I think what I did over the years is whatever little I had to express, I have kind of made sure that my
It's there in bits, like a microdrama of the
my
interview.
thoughts reach the world.
But thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go, a quick word on MUBI, your one-stop shop for meaningful cinema from around the globe. You can try MUBI for free for 30 days by visiting mubi.com/thestreamingshow2025. This week, I recommend you check out Hot Milk. Screenwriter Rebecca Lenkowich's searing directorial debut is an adaptation of Deborah Levy's novel about a strained mother-daughter relationship, starring rising star Emma Mackey and a stunning Fiona Shaw. Set in a coastal city in southeast Spain, Hot Milk follows Sophia, a student from London who's forced to put her life on hold to accompany her mother to Spain in an attempt to cure her paralysis. Along the way, Sophia encounters and begins an affair with Ingrid, a mysterious tourist. Hot Milk is a deeply affecting, poignant drama about the suffocation and support of a complex mother-daughter dynamic and the emotional toll of caregiving. Rebecca Lenkowich uses a dreamlike meditative aesthetic to keep us constantly unsettled, leaving us with some uncomfortable but essential questions. Where does love end and manipulation begin? Where does selfishness end and self-preservation begin? Where does dependence end and destruction begin? Experiencing Hot Milk is like holding in a simmering scream that's desperate to break free. You can watch the film on MUBI.